you just listened to a young girl who was saying that the Nigerian community here is totally very angry. It covers all the aspects of various techniques of our journalism.
This was the Ijo country of the Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He went to several schools to make your academic services was at Government College, Ujeli, and
go gather, destroy their food, make cultivated camp, and that other camp, some more camp, you don't compensate everybody. But some of them,
in its generation sometimes. Today our focus will be on the style of J.P. Clark, a poet and writer, and we shall also be very interested in his point at more dancer.
The song that needs to be exploited.
Some lives are meaningful, some are empty. Lives that are meaningful, with too much meaning and riches to offer humankind. Long after some of these earthly adventures and no more, one can still find footprints of these big lives on the pavements of our contemporary life.
Good evening, you're welcome to the program Green Planet.
Distinguished non-governmental organizations here present, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to this presentation titled The Kyoto Protocol. I am Roland from FOREP, Forest Resources and Cable. So this presentation will follow this outline. We'll have a brief introduction, objective. We'll look into the mechanism of the Kyoto Protocol. We'll look into some criticisms of the Kyoto Protocol. We'll look at some successes, failures, and we'll have a conclusion. You see, modernity in the way of life of man is becoming a threat to his existence. You see, the aspects of industrialization, things which were done by hands, are now being done by machines with large amount of toxic gases being released into the atmosphere. The issue of deforestation in the form of agriculture, like other members mentioned, the use of slash and burn, produces large amount of these gases, the greenhouse gases, into the atmosphere. Likewise, the issue of the use of fossil fuel for a separation of power also produces large amount of gases into the atmosphere. Excuse me. Some of these gases include, we have our carbon dioxide, methane, nitrogen oxide, hydrofluorocarbon, among others. And these gases, with their presence in the atmosphere, has led to what we have, the ozone layer depletion, which is one of our main objectives while we're here, resulting from these greenhouse gases which have destroyed our ozone layer. We also have the situations of high temperature, which presently in Cameroon we are already witnessing it. We have the issue of the melting of the glacier, mostly along the poles, leading to flooding, rise in sea levels. We have had rampant flooding, especially in north of Cameroon, in which we see homes, people running away from their area, all as a result or connected to these greenhouse gases. We also mentioned the issue of acidifications of the sea. We mentioned that high amounts of these gases, especially the carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, which are being emitted with the form of acid rains, falls and goes back into our ocean, modifying habitat. All these link to the issue of the climate change. We have desertification and a lot of diseases present now, especially the issue of skin cancer. Somebody also mentioned the issue of the kulkusha, our ibukuku, which is almost, we're not having it presently in our most areas, which we usually use it to eat our yams. These and many others led to the birth of the Kyoto Protocol, which is an agreement negotiated by many countries in December 1997. The Kyoto Protocol went into effect on February 6, 2005, after Russia ratified to the treaty. A total of 141 countries agreed and signed the ratification. The objective of the Kyoto Protocol through quantifying emission reduction target within a specified time frame, the 5.2% reduction target was given to all the industrialized countries in the period compared with the 1990 reference level, in which countries like USA was given a 7% reduction in target. This was as a result of what their annual production of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Like on our figure, you realize that USA and Canada produces about almost 1,600 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. Therefore, they were supposed to reduce their emission up to about 7%. And we realize that Africa is quite at the bottom there, following our scale, just about 200 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. With this, they develop a flexible mechanisms in which countries can meet up with their reduction target, and in which the first flexible mechanism was the emission trading. The next one was joint implementation mechanisms, and the last was the clean development mechanisms. In the emission trading mechanisms, these allow countries to transfer part of their allowed emissions to other countries. In this respect, if a country, for example, had about 5.2 as a reduction target, mostly, especially this one falls like an African country, and does not meet up the amount, the country is capable of transferring part of its emission target to another country which have exceeded. So it is more of, like the word says, trading. Then, the main trading officer in this Kyoto Protocol is the European Trading Ship, and it does not currently trade forest sinks credit for the following reasons. One, they say the possibility of being temporal and reversible. You can protect a forest today in a particular area. After 2 or 3 years, you cut it back and you burn it, and the carbon dioxide or most of the greenhouse gases moves back into the system. There's another point that I mentioned about some uncertainty about their efficiency and emission absorber. Today, most of us are talking about planting of trees. Yes, we should plant trees. Have we taken into consideration looking if this particular tree, which quantity of carbon dioxide can this tree absorb from the atmosphere, or is it just to plant trees? Because trees have different level of absorptions of carbon dioxide. So now this the European Trading Ship looks into those forests if they have those types of species which are capable of absorbing a particular quantity of carbon dioxide or some of these greenhouse gases into the system. The next mechanism is the joint implementation mechanism, in which in the joint implementation mechanisms it involves 2 industrialized countries. Here there is the identification of a project in one of the countries. In this situation, we have, for example, the biomass project in Romania. In this situation, we have stockpiling of wood waste, in which the host country for this project is Romania, which is the industrialized country too, as regards to our figure. While Denmark is the credit buyer, because Denmark is the country that produces the emission. So it is called the credit buyer. At the end, the investment goes to Romania, which is industrial country 2, while the industrial country 1 gains what? Emission reduction units. For example, like they identify the project of what? Biomass, the biomass project. The whole country for the project is Romania, as we earlier said. Yeah, stockpiling of wood waste is a problem. That is the problem that these 2 countries identified. Stockpiling is just like fossil fuel or coal. It's just like coal, which, of course, when you burn it, it will releases methane and other gases into the atmosphere, which not environmental friendly. So the suggested solution to this problem is what? To use the wood waste for the production of biofuel. Use the wood waste for the production of biofuel instead of burning the coal and producing methane. You produce biofuel which is environmentally friendly. Now we'll move into some critics of the Kyoto Protocol. Detailing, you realize that India and China, which have ratified, they have signed to be a member in the Kyoto Protocol, are not obligated to reduce the greenhouse gas production at the moment as they are in a developing country. You see, they went further to mention they are not one of the culprits during industrialization. But mind you that India and China are one of the countries presently which are emitting one of the highest. They are almost competing now with USA in emission. So most school of thought were criticizing this issue, why India and China were not given a reduction target like other countries, knowing that they are emitting high amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Another school of thought also looked into the issue of politicians and diplomats who delay massive actions. Most often issues of the environment, issue of climate change, most politicians waste it and look mostly about when is their term of office will be over, or they also look only about the interests of the country and forget most important things about the environment. Many see the cost of the Kyoto Protocol as outweighing the benefits. Yes, you realize that now in the Kyoto Protocol, they look mostly about the trading of carbon, issue of money, instead of the idea of conservation. The idea of conservation is way out and more of them concern mostly about the trading. Some believe that the standard was too optimistic. Another school of thought that it was within a short time, that's from 2008 to 2012, that was when it was ratified, that this period was too short to achieve the goals. Inequitable and inefficient agreement. We have seen the situation about India and China, which they emit large amount of gases, but they were not given reduction targets, or they were not given reduction target. Also see the side of USA. They are looking at it as inefficient agreement. If India or China, which is also producing large amount of gases, they are not giving target, so therefore they are not going to respect that protocol. We also see the controversy using the 1990 as the base year for emission reduction standard. Most school of thought did not agree to that, based on the fact that why is it that they did not use the year 2000, but they decided to use the 1990. So most school of thought mentioned that they could have used the per capita individual emission for reduction of emission instead of using the 1990 level. We'll look into some of the failures of the Kyoto Protocol. Presently, we still realize that carbon dioxide is still rising. I think those are some of the reasons why we're here. We still have high temperatures, we still have flooding, there are a lot of these things. Without the USA ratifying the protocol, there was also a big failure as one of the greatest emitters of greenhouse gases. We saw the charts, we saw their level, releasing about 1,600 million tons of carbon dioxide. Most of them did not agree. Failure to allocate emission reduction target to China and India was also a big problem. No matter they are in developing countries, but their present states, what they are doing, the amount of greenhouse gases which is being emitted is causing a lot of harm to our ozone layer and to the environment. What are some of the successes of the Kyoto Protocol? Really, it was an important step in addressing climate change in a global scale for most countries accepting to agree towards the protocol. American lawmakers setting targets for reducing carbon dioxide emission, even though the country refused to sign the ratification, but it was introduced into their laws for different industries which reduced the amount of emissions. It was also a bold proposal with a relative short time frame. So within that short time frame, they were also able to group up this number of countries which accepted to ratify. To conclude, the climate change debate is a challenging issue between politicians, business people, scientists, us, non-governmental organizations, taking different positions of interest. It is therefore necessary for us to keep those differences and come together on a flat platform and discuss this issue, because the earth is already on a time bomb and that action is needed now. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roland. He's a PhD student from the University of Buea.
That's an Arrey Ivo.
Thank you very much. And you just listened to a young girl who was saying that the Nigerian community here is totally very angry. Covers all the aspects of various victims of our journalism.
This was the Kyoto country of the Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He went to several schools. His major academic genesis was at the government college, Ujeli.
Go gather, destroy their food. With the camp. And that other camp, some more camp. You don't compensate everybody. But some of them
in its key generation sometimes. Today our focus will be in the style of J.P. Clark, a poet and writer, and we shall also be very interested in his point at more dancing.
It's something that needs to be exploited.
Some lives are meaningful.
Some are empty.
Lives that are meaningful, with too much meaning and riches to offer humankind. After some of these earthly adventures and more, one can still find footprints of these great lives on the pavements of our contemporary life.
Good evening, you're welcome to the program Green Planet.